Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into the clarity of divine presence, unpacking 1 Corinthians 14. We're going to explore a really fascinating reality, how the clear, understandable communication of God's truth can absolutely transform your college campus. We're looking at a deeply profound text from the Bible, and we're going to summarize some key findings from recent theological research on how spiritual gifts and communication are actually meant to function. But look, we're not just talking about abstract theology here. We're zeroing in on the real-world implications of all this data for college students navigating campus life, dorm rooms, and student ministries right now.
To ground us, let's look at 1 Corinthians 14:25, which says, "As the secrets of their hearts are laid bare, so they will fall down and worship God, exclaiming, 'God is really among you.'" Now, this perfectly captures the Reformed Calvinist view of God's sovereign desire to reveal himself clearly so that hearts are powerfully convicted. The core theological premise here? It's that God actively desires to be understood. He is at work laying bare the secrets of the heart, and the end result of that crystal clear revelation is unmistakable, genuine worship.
So, to outline the big picture first, before we dive into all the details, here is our roadmap. First, we'll look at the historical context in the Bible. Second, clarity versus confusion. Third, exposing the heart. Fourth, practical steps for college students. And finally, a conclusion on reflecting God's presence. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, historical context in the Bible, focusing on Paul's letters to the early believers.
You see, Paul was writing to a community that was honestly a bit obsessed with showcasing spiritual gifts, especially speaking in tongues. And, well, it was getting chaotic. So Paul steps in with this foundational rule. God is not a God of confusion. He desires his truth to be perfectly clear. The overarching purpose of any spiritual communication isn't just to show off human ability, right? It's to ensure that people are built up, encouraged, and ultimately drawn to him. Because if a message isn't intelligible, it doesn't build anyone up, and the entire purpose is totally lost.
That brings us to Section 2, clarity versus confusion, where we'll be contrasting two theories of spiritual communication. This really illustrates a stark difference. On one side, you have speaking in tongues without interpretation, which fundamentally creates confusion. Because no one understands what's being said, the experience remains entirely internal and unshared, which literally leaves peers unstrengthened. But on the flip side, speaking prophecy clearly creates immediate clarity. Understandable words have the power to convict, encourage, and actively transform hearts. Clear communication wins every single time, because the listener can actually grasp the truth being shared. Moving right along to Section 3. Exposing the heart. This is all about the mechanism of conviction and transformation. Highlighting the main argument here, a healthy spiritual community doesn't just, build itself up internally. It uses clear truth as a witness to lead others to a real encounter. And here is how that mechanism actually works. God's truth is expressly designed to create understanding, which is the absolute prerequisite for transformation. When that truth is spoken plainly, when clear prophecy happens, it actually exposes the heart of an outsider who might just be visiting your campus ministry. They are convicted. The spiritual gifts point directly to God rather than to human talent, creating a direct witness that inevitably leads to worship. Now, let's get practical with Section 4, Steps for College Students. We're applying the text directly to campus life. By actively following this step-by-step process, you can make sure your daily conversations prioritize clear truth. Step 1 is foundational. Speak to help others understand, not just to impress. It's so easy to drop a heavy theological term like propitiation in the dining hall to sound smart, but if your roommate is lost, you aren't helping them at all. Step 2 requires a bit of self-awareness. Evaluate if your words are helping or confusing people. You gotta read the room. Are your friends talking with you, or are their eyes just glazing over? And finally, Step 3, choose clarity when sharing truth. Whenever you have the opportunity to encourage a stressed-out classmate, always take the simple, direct path. Clarity is exactly what God uses to build people up.
And that brings us to Section 5, Conclusion, reflecting God's presence in your life as a living witness. To wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this provocative final thought to really ponder this week. Do your words bring clarity or confusion? And how can your life today reflect the presence of God to someone who doesn't even know him yet? The entire thrust of 1 Corinthians 14 is that God wants to be understood. He uses our intelligible, clear communication to make his presence known to those who are far from him. Your life and your words have the power to be an incredible witness if you choose clarity over distraction. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I truly hope this helps you clearly reflect his presence on campus today.